Okay, so now I wanted to just make a new logic template here. There we go. Okay. All right. Now let's go into indicators. And so the Ichimoku that I have is from Lizard Indicators. And there we go. All right. So on my Ichimoku, the blue line is the Tenkan-Sen, and Kijun-Sen is the red line that I have here. All right. So hopefully those colors match up with your conversion line and baseline. Let's see. Okay, good. All right, so Ringa, yep, just confirmed. Yep, the Tenkan-Sen is the conversion and the Kijun is the baseline. Okay, good. And let's see here. All right, so we have one other Ichimoku line we're using. Let's see, the span A. So we're using the green line. Yep. Okay, so the Senkou Span A. Let's make that a little heavier. There we go. Yeah. All right, there we have it. All right, there we go. I think we have our instructions there, or our system rules here. Let's see. So this is going to be basically a bunch of comparison solvers, right? So we're comparing, bar highs to each other, right? So the current bar high needs to be higher than one bar back, and then one bar back high needs to be higher than 2 bars back, right? And then check, that the Tenkan-Sen line and the Kijun-Sen line, or the Tenkan-Sen is above the Kijun-Sen. And then also we even have a CCI requirement here. So the CCI must be positive or above the 0 line. Okay. And then pretty much for the shorts, it's, everything's reversed. So we're comparing the lows need to be lower than 1 bar back, and 1 bar back lower than the previous bar to that. So, and then also the Tenkan-Sen line needs to be below the Kijun-Sen. CCI needs to be negative, but then we also have one extra requirement for a short, which is the close of the bar has to be below or less than the leading span, which actually is the Senkou A span. Yeah. All right, so there's our system rules. So with that, let's get building. All right, so let's start with the simple things, right? So we're just going to compare bar highs, right, to the previous bar high, and same thing, we'll compare the bar low to the previous bar lows. All right, so that is going to be a bunch of comparison solvers. So let's throw in a comparison solver here. All right, so we're gonna, with the comparison solver, well, with all the solvers, we can compare 2 different price points at the same time here, the high and the low price. All right, so input A, that is going to be price, right? Change the type to price. Same for input B, change the type to price. So for a long, we're interested in looking at the high price. So for price type long, that's going to be set to high. Price type long, that's going to be set to high. And for the shorts, right, for a short signal, we're looking at the low price. So for the price type short, set that to the low. And same thing for input B, set that price type short to low. But for input B, we're going to increase the look back period to 2. So now we're looking back 1 extra bar. All right. So keep in mind, when something is labeled as a period has to have at least 1 bar. You can't have a 0 period indicator, right? So periods start, the minimum value is 1, so they start counting at 1, versus other kind of inputs. Some inputs will start counting at 0, such as a displacement. Yeah. Let's see here. Let's open up the indicator real quick. Right. So if you look at any indicator, right, the displacement here, is starts at 0. Right. So when so in this case, the look back period is doing the same function as the displacement that we use with indicators, right? But it's just remember that a period, the counting starts at 1, whereas other settings like a displacement starts counting at 0. So all right, so with that, let's kind of stretch this out a little bit. And so, yeah, these range bars make it easy to see that, when the highs go higher, we get a long output, right? And then if the highs go lower, then we get a short output. Sorry, let me just double check that. Let's open up the rules window here. Yeah, so when the highs go higher, right, we're getting a long output. And if the lows go lower, we're getting a short output. So, let's see. Yeah, with the range bar, we'll never have both. Yeah, we'll never have both. So, all right, so to correct myself, when we see these short outputs, it's because the lows went lower. Right? So the lows going lower, and we're getting a short. The highs go higher, we're getting long. And because this is a range chart, we're never going to get a inside bar or an outside bar, right? So we'll never have a long and a short together. So, but if I switch to a minute chart, yeah, we'd probably see a bunch of situations where we'd see a long and a short on the same bar, because the high went higher, and the short went, and the lows went lower, right? So that would be an engulfing bar. So, all right. So, so we have the first part done, and so now we need the second part here, right? So we just need the same condition, but just an additional bar back. And there's a quick and easy way to do that. So we could make a new solver, but we don't need to. What we can just do is grab a function node, and we want the look back node. Connect that in. And on the look back node, we're using the displacement function. So we're grabbing the output from 1 bar back from our comparison solver. So we're using the displacement function here. So I'll just rename this. Now if we grab a AND node, like so, all right? So now we need 2 highs stepping higher, right? And if we get 1 low stepping lower, then, no shorts. So we need at least, right, 1 pair stepping lower and a second pair stepping lower. And then we'll get a short, right? So as long as the lows keep stepping lower, we'll keep getting shorts. All right, so there's the first condition here for both the longs and the shorts. And so now let's compare the Tenkan-Sen to the Kijun-Sen. All right. So for both longs and shorts. All right. Let's see. So we need another comparison solver. And let's name this solver here. All right, so now let's plug in the Ichimoku and set up those plots here. Move that back. There. All right, so input A is going to be the Tenkan-Sen plot. Let's open that up. And all right, so I'm using the lizard indicators Ichimoku. I don't think NinjaTrader has one yet, or do they? Let's find out. No, NinjaTrader doesn't have an Ichimoku yet. Okay, it's kind of surprising, but all right. So there's our lizard trader Ichimoku, and the Tenkan-Sen is already selected for us. All right, that's the first plot on the list, so we're good to go there. And again, I'm just using all the default settings here. All right, and input B, that will be our Kijun-Sen line. All right, it says search for Ichi. And oh, look at that. I think I might have found a little bug in our search tool. All right, so let's open that up, and now there we go. Okay, yeah, interesting. So I had to expand the lizard indicator folder, and then the search tool found the Ichimoku. Okay, I'll have to make a note of that and get that little thing fixed. All right, so next, the Kijun-Sen. There we go. Select that. So we're comparing the blue line to the red line, right? And we can actually see, look at that, interesting. So, so right here on this bar, the blue line and the red line equal each other exactly, you know, down to like 8 decimal points. So exactly there. Although, yeah, just a just a little side note. At some point, we're actually going to adjust BloodHound to round all the indicators down to 2 decimal points, right? Because a lot of people get confused when they pull up Ninja's data box. Yeah, right. Ninja's data box only goes out to 2 decimal points. And so that confuses a lot of people, saying, hey, these indicators are equal, but BloodHound's, you know, showing that one's above the other. Well, no, you know, Ninja's data box only goes out to 2 decimal points. But indicators, you know, these indicators, they calculate out to 16 decimal points, I believe, or at least 8, a minimum of 8 decimal points. Yeah, and I think they can calculate out to 16. Man, it's been a while since I've looked into the technicals of NinjaTrader. So let's just say 8 decimal points, right? And of course, you know, with Ninja's data box, you can't see 8 decimal points out. So, you know, to eliminate this confusion, you know, we're gonna at some point internally in BloodHound, we're gonna take all the indicators and just round them off to 2 decimal points. So that way, when people see, you know, 2 indicators equaling each other in the data box, BloodHound will say they're equal as well. So, yeah. All right. So we have the second requirement done here. So now let's drop down to the third requirement. And first, let's connect that in. There we go. Connect that in. All right. So there you go. We're getting closer here. We're getting some outputs. So now let's add the CCI. Let's close that. And open up our indicators and add the CCI. All right, there we go. There's our CCI and the zero line. So we're just interested in whether it's above 0 or below 0. All right, so this time we're going to use a threshold solver. All right, so let's grab a threshold solver, connect that in, and input the CCI. There's our CCI, and we're just using the 14 period. All right, so nothing needs adjustments, so we'll just click OK. Oh, and sorry. Let's take a quick look at the rules window here. So for the threshold. So we didn't have to change anything in the rules window because we're looking at the zero line, right? But, you know, if you wanted the CCI to be like above 100, right, then for the longs, you know, you'd put in 100, and then vice versa for the shorts, you would put in negative 100, like that. And if I hit apply, right there, now we can see whenever the CCI is, you know, in between 100 and negative 100, right, there's no output. So the CCI has to go down to below negative 100 or above positive 100, and then we get an output, right? So, but we didn't need to adjust anything. We'll just set that all back to 0, right? So that's the default settings for this, and we're good to go, right? So, you know, if you're, to put it simply, if you're checking to see if an indicator is above or below the 0 line, then you don't need to change anything within the rules window here, right? So, okay, let's connect this all in and see what we get. So, all right, so we have some further filtering, it looks like. And one last thing here for the shorts, we need to set or check if the close is below the Senkou Span A, which is the green line, right? And okay, so let's see here. So the Senkou span is shifted out further in time, right? So it's been displaced, right? The green line has been displaced out into time by, let's see, I think it's 26 bars. Yes, the Senkou shift is 26 bars. Yep, there we go. Okay, so let's see. Yeah, so the point I'm making here is I know that in some situations, sometimes if you want to access, you know, this price data that's way out here into the future, you have to use a displacement, right? So let's look at the threshold solver with the CCI, right? You would have to use this displacement, or is it the other way around? Yeah, it's been so long since I worked with the Ichimoku, I don't remember, but it's bottom line is, if you're working with a plot that's displaced out into the future, there's a high chance you're going to have to adjust the displacement to get the value that you actually want to work with, right? So if you want to work with the value that's way out here in the future, or do you want to work with the value, you know, that's literally on the same bar, right? So we're going to figure that out in here in just a moment. So we're comparing the close to the Senkou span. All right, so that's a comparison, right? The close needs to be below. So that means we need another comparison solver. Connect that up. Okay. All right, we have a name in there. So now let's go set up input A. So that's going to be, the price types. So there we go. The close of the bar is set up for us. And input B, that's going to be our Ichimoku. All right, there's our Ichimoku. And this time, the Senkou Span A is what we're interested in. All right, click OK. Now, one thing we haven't done yet, right, is this extra rule here, extra system requirement, is only for shorts, right? You notice it's not included in the long. So the evaluate here, we want to, right, we're not interested in this long here. Let's see here. Yeah, we're not interested in this long. So what we need to do is we need to figure out a way to get a continuous long output, right? Because here, let's just take a look and see what happens, right? So, yeah, actually my original thought was going to be incorrect. And my original thought was, well, we're only interested in the short. Well, when we do that, no long signals can occur anymore, because this one solver here, right, this one solver no longer has any long output. So it's preventing all the long signals because this never produces a long output. So actually, let's see, let's put that back on both. And yeah, so let's see if there's something in the rules window that I can adjust here, because I want to create a condition that's always true so that we're always getting a long output, right? I don't want this close condition to prevent the long signals from firing off. So this one solver, I need to create a condition that's always true on the long side. And probably, oh, yeah, here we go. So I can add an offset here. Let's see, where I'm on the NQ. Yeah, let's just say 500 points ought to be enough, right? So if the closing price is greater or above the Ichimoku Senkou Span A, right? So we're taking the Senkou Span A and subtracting 500 points from it, right? So that's going to take the green line and subtract 500 points. So it's going to shift it down 500 points. And so that to me sounds like the closing price should always be greater, right, than the Senkou Span, minus 500 points. So let's take a look, and yeah, look at that. So it looks like we're always getting a long output now. Yeah, there would have to be a really large gap, right, between the green line and the close of the bar. So, yeah, really large gap. Now, of course, if you're using really large time frames like daily bars, maybe you might get a 500 point gap between the two. So depending on your time frame, that 500 points might not be enough. But I think for the most part, this probably will work 99.9% of the time, right? So I just put a large number in there, and so I just created a condition here that's should always be true. So, okay, so now with us always having a long output, that is now going to allow a long signal from the other four conditions, right? So this condition is not going to interfere with our long signal conditions anymore. All right, let's connect that up, and we should be done. Oh, well, actually, hold on. I need to finish confirming that this is actually working correctly. And yeah, so there we go. So the close is below, and then as soon as the close crosses above the green line, it goes long. Or I'm sorry, not goes long, but the short output ends. So whenever the close is above the green line, there's no short output. Yeah, there we go. There's just 2 bars helping us confirm, right? We can see there's no short output down here, right, from this one solver here, right? So that's what we're looking for. Okay, so what that tells us is that, yeah, I guess, the way this indicator was created, let's see. Yeah, the way this indicator was created is that when BloodHound is receiving, the value for the green line, it's actually receiving the value, on the bar that it's calculating, versus receiving the value that's, way out here in the future. Right, so BloodHound's not working with this value out here. It's actually is working with the value that coincides, that matches up on the chart here, right? But that is something to be aware of, right? Some indicators, I know I've seen this in the past where BloodHound actually receives the indicator value out in the future, not the indicator value that's where the bars are prices. So when that happens, when that happens, you have to start using the displacement function to bring that, to get to that value there. So, all right, but we don't have to worry with that. Worry about that. And all right, so there we have it. Let's see. All right, let's give this a name here. There. So I'm just kind of scanning through this. Yeah, this everything I see looks correct. So this was a pretty simple system to build. This type of system, where you're just doing simple, comparisons, is something above or something below something else. These are pretty straightforward, and simple to put together. So, all right. So with that, let me take a look at the Q&A window and see if there's any follow-ups. I don't see any follow-ups on this question here. All right, so I guess we're done with this one.